importantly, they're really not part, I mean, they're part of the financial report, but they're not part of our ending fund balance.
Right. And I guess I'll bring up those donations later then when we get to childcare.
Oh, go ahead, bring them up now. You can bring them up now if you want to.
So I think I've got 2,150 in donations from different entities. So that's good news.
Great. Oh, there's 2 people in the waiting room, Steve.
Yep, on it.
And I have a check for you for that, Tom. I'll drop it off.
Okay.
So now I see Nate came in. Did Blair come on?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. Great. Did you hear what Tom said about the summer camp?
No, I just literally got on.
Okay, go for it, Tom, because Blair's
Sure.
going to want to know this.
Yes, so I've got either 4 or 5 donations in for the summer camp totaling 2,150.
Nice.
That is great.
That is awesome.
Yep.
And the ad has only circulated one time, correct?
Yep. Well, this time is the second. Well, is it in this week? I've got the paper, but I haven't looked for the ad yet.
I haven't looked either.
Mel, is it in this week? Do you know?
Let me check. I'll get back to you.
Oh, don't worry. You don't have to.
No.
None of us know. We just let go off the
No.
top of your head, Mel.
Well-
Don't worry.
Well, and Jeff, I don't know that I ever saw like the actual schedule because I kind of let Jeff and Eve work that out. We had talked about the budget, and Jeff had sent me an email, said, yeah, we can work with that and stuff. So the actual ad drop schedule, I think, was worked out with Jeff and Eve. So I would assume there was probably a couple of drops of each, but that's great. That's great.
It was in the paper last week. It's not in the paper this week, but I know there's a schedule, so it might be going to show up next week.
Okay, cool.
Okay. That's
Tom,
great.
does that include the 500 from Seroptimist?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And then Nikki and I have a donation for that as well. So that'll be good.
There'll be more. Yep. Cool. And we have not gotten the money from Idaho yet. We're still waiting for that. Although I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but we did get, does that include the money we got from Commerce? Because we did get paid for those last ads.
Yes, that total does include that.
And so that's included?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are done with that one. Great. Okay. Anything else in the financial report? Any questions from anyone? So let's go back to the March minutes. Blair, you're here. I made a correction to the March minutes. Anybody else have corrections? If not, a motion to approve, please.
I move to approve as amended.
Second.
Okay, those in favor, please say aye.
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 Who oppose, same sign. Okay, they are approved. Thank you. Old business. Moving right along. So state GFDA, SBA assistance, Sweetgrass. Any updates on federal assistance, what the state's done or anything? Corey, do you want to add anything there as to what you're seeing?
I think Corey Hagman's he jumped off or got disconnected at some point.
Oh, okay. Well, when he comes back on, if he has some updates. Steve, do you have any updates?
Unless we want to talk about that restaurant, shuttered restaurant one.
Yes, I do. In fact,
Yeah, I'll let you. I haven't had a chance to fully look at that email, so I'll defer to you on that.
Well, we'll be talking about later on. We've been talking to GFDA quite a bit, and they're doing a training, not a training, but informational video Zoom calls for restaurant folks, how they can take the best advantage of the money coming down from the Rescue Act. And they would like us to be partners in this. I think it's just a name only. I don't think we have to put any money in, from my understanding. And
Right.
I hope to forward this to all of our restaurant owners so that they can take full advantage. I know we have new owners and want to congratulate them at the deli,
Outpost, yeah.
Outpost Deli. So
Well, and I think that's something we can extend, throughout the county, for that matter, Fairfield and
absolutely. You
Power
have-
and Dutton,
Yep.
Bynum.
We'll send that around. He sent us the schedule. We can share it with probably on our Facebook page or our Facebook page, right?
Yep.
Steve? Yep.
I'm sorry, which group is putting that out?
Great Falls Development Authority, GFDA. And again, they would like us to be co-sponsors or a partner, let's say. So I guess we need to vote on that.
I move to authorize co-sponsorship of that training.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Good. So we will do that. And if any other updates anyone has right now, I think Corey would be the one when he comes on. Okay, let's go to the job description. I wish Lisa were here and maybe there's work to be done in this still. Steve, why don't you talk? We had a discussion, and before we go through this in any detail, and I did make some changes given a discussion that we had with GFDA. Steve and I talked to them last week in a Zoom call, to their deputy director and to, that wasn't Rich Gannon. Who was the other one?
Jason Nitschke.
Jason Nitschke, who's been up here quite a bit. He does a lot of cooperative work throughout North Central Montana about possible partnering with them. Steve, why don't you talk about it?
I'll do my best. It's been a long week, so my brain's still a little frazzled at the moment. They were very helpful, kind of guiding. You know, Mary and I think, in our discussions, have been very optimistic and pie in the sky on our you know, what the job or who we could hire, what that would look like in terms of cost, and not only, you know, pay scale, but then cost to the Port Authority, realistic cost to the Port Authority. They were very helpful in kind of clarifying that for us, I thought. They were very helpful also in clarifying, kind of helping us determine how to niche down the verbiage in the job description so that we find the right person to do what we need most first, kind of prioritize what we need in this job, in this kind of employee, this coordinator, I guess is the right word for it. It was helpful to know that they kind of already have a template for this, working with some of the entities in Great Falls. Those are kind of the big things that stick out of my mind, Mary. Help me fill in the gaps.
I guess that my take home is that we're thinking too small. We talked a little bit about how they are funded and how they're supported. And
Yeah,
they
that's a good point. Yep.
offer, I think, $500,000 a year from businesses and other organizations with community. And
When you say, Mary, when you say they are supported, who's the they?
the
Great Falls
Great
Development Authority.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They're not,
Yep.
they partner with their TBID, which isn't much. They partner with their chamber, their business improvement district, a lot of different organizations, but they get funding from banks, larger businesses, and a variety
Lawyers.
of lawyers, businesses in Great Falls. And they have been very successful. They are not a government entity. When they need to, they partner with someone for a grant or something like that.
The Great Falls Port Authority and the TBID, I think, were their primary. Yep.
And what I would like to say, and then they felt what we're asking for is a full-time person. I think that's what they said. And they said, sure, you start out small, you try it for 2 or 3 years and you build it up. And they said, you really do need a community coordinator. You don't need a grant writer. They said they would help us. And I know Sweetgrass has those possibilities. And we've gotten some grant writer. We've gotten some assistance from Aaron. But this person needs to coordinate grants. Find the right person to write a specific grant, because there are private grant writers out there. And then coordinate it with information about the community. And they need to seek grants. But to be a grant writer as such, they said, you know, there are people out there who do a better job, and you really need
Right.
a coordinator rather than a grant writer.
And I think that the point, the broader point that they made, like to that point, is that, you know, outsource where you can.
Yep.
Whether it's grant writing or whatever in the broader job description we had before, and then bootstrap this position into exactly what we need right now. And
Yeah.
have that person kind of coordinate with these other organizations, other people, other entities, and let them kind of handle that side of it. Is that fair to say, Mary?
Yep.
So, and forgive me if this has been stated before, but I know we've talked about other possible joint participants in that. Have we got confirmation from anybody else in Choteau that wants to contribute with this, this position and or utilize that personnel as well?
We have not reached out to them because last time it was just a work in progress. This time it
Okay.
still is. Until we have an actual job description, I did make changes here.
Okay.
That we can go to chamber, T-bid,
Lions,
Okay. Okay.
Lions,
PCDC.
PCDC, others.
Okay.
And what I am going to propose, and I'm going to say it tonight, is that, whether we change this from 20 to 30 hours a week or from $20 to $30,000 a year, I think we go to the banks. And I'm asking, and I will reach out also to Lisa and then to you two, who's the best person to do that where? I mean, for example, I'm happy to go talk to Lyle Hodgkiss. In fact, Lyle has always said, we need a person who wakes up thinking about Choteau all the time.
Yep.
He
Right.
is
What can I do for Choteau?
And I think the Opportunities Bank is very community oriented. I know in Great Falls, I can't remember how much the banks participate, but it's a big ask.
Well, and they gave us, GFDA gave us their list of donors and like the levels that they're at. They didn't give us specific numbers, but levels, there's the $500 a year donors, $1,000, et cetera, up to whatever the big grand amount was. But it's a good template for us to use to reach out, not only to, I don't want to scalp their donors, but it's a good template for us to go and approach similar businesses in our community.
The
Right,
hospital,
right.
another big one. And so my thought is, I think we look at an amount that we ask them for. I know we've talked to it a little bit about like the chamber, and we have that from last month's minutes, that, we do maybe 1,000 or so from chamber. And maybe with the banks, we start with 2,500. We ask them 2,500 for at least 2 years. And that we'd show them the job description. We'd give them, they kind of know what we've been doing. We could even write up, and I'd be happy to do that, what we have done and what we hope to do in the future. I know one thing GFDA said was promise small and do a lot more. Well,
Sure.
in some ways, I think even as what we've done with the Port Authority is more than at least I had expected a couple of years ago.
Right. So Mary, then as far as kind of this timeline, would we come up with the job description, then go to the banks, or go to the other possible cooperative businesses first, or entities rather, and then go to the banks? At one point.
We could stage it that way. Go to chamber and T-bid first and ask for theirs, and tell the banks and the hospital and any others. I mean, maybe the law office. There are other businesses in town that might want to contribute $500 a year, or even a couple
Right.
$50 a year.
So I think, Blair, part of the answer to your question is the ones that would really be partaking in this position, if we're doing a shared kind of position, administrative or otherwise, would be like the Port Authority and T-bid, maybe TCDC. Those ones I think would be looking for some potential tweaking or input on the description. But that's it. That's the line in the sand. Everyone else is, we're asking for financial support then to help broaden, have the income to support the 30-hour a week or whatever the amount is.
Right. And I think just so I'm making myself clear, in my mind, it seems like maybe it would be advantageous to go ahead and touch base with T-bid. If, I guess, before we approach the banks, if we already had a support network
Finalized.
built up with some of these other entities. And not that the bank is going to put a lot of leverage on that, but I feel like, if it's not just Port Authority, if we say, listen, this is who we are now, it's the Port Authority and T-bid and TCDC. And collectively, do you agree with that, or you think it matters?
this is discussion. I think that's a good idea. We've gotten the job description. It's refined a little bit more. And if we want to go talk to them now, we didn't do it this past month because we were still wanting to say, yes, this is what we want to do. I'm happy to go talk to T-Bid and Chamber. I mean, Steve, you can talk to T-Bid. I'll talk to Chamber since you're the
Yeah.
president. Maybe you're not the one should be doing it.
Yeah, no, and I think Blair, your point is valid. Having that kind of community organization support, the breadth of the support to go to the banks with is good.
Yep.
Hey guys, I gotta step off for 1 second. I'll be right back on. I just had somebody come to the door.
Okay.
I'll just mute it.
I think then, well, we'll wait for him to come back, but I would like to boost it up. And maybe some of the folks who were on, we're just kind of having an open discussion. Would anyone like to throw in their 2 or 3 cents worth?
Mary,
Yes.
do you still have commitments for funding from what was the
Heart of
Uh,
the Rockies?
Heart of the Rockies? And
Yep.
was there one other one, or was it just Heart of the Rockies?
It would be CAP and Heart of the Rockies. So we
Okay.
have 10,000 base. So we'd be looking for another 10,000, or maybe we boost even the job description up to 30,000.
What was Heart of the Rockies pledge?
5.
5. Okay, for 2 years.
Yep. And ours is 5 for 2 years.
Mary, for my 2 cents, what it's worth, I really like what Blair said, to be like, before you go to banking entities, to be able to show them that you have partners that are going to benefit from this person and that they're willing to put some skin in the game.
Okay.
I think that would be a really good sell.
Okay. What do you think about going to businesses like the banks and the hospital and others that we may feel we have ties to that we could ask?
Sure. Especially when you can show them what's in it for them,
Mhm.
they would see the value, I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm back.
And again, the template exists that those entities do, whether it's Great Falls or the broader Great Falls area, those type of entities do see the value in this kind of work.
I say we're
think
going to be talking to the GFDA again, Great Falls Development Authority, about a partnership, what they think if we have a partnership with them, what they could do for us. Now, we didn't talk any funding, but certainly with grants, with outreach, they're interested in broadening to more north central Montana, and they find Choteau very attractive. And they have helped us already.
Well, and I was going to say, and there again, it's the same kind of concept as we've shown boots on the ground. We can put together the community support. We are proactively seeking grants and stuff. So I think that's a feather in our cap compared to some other communities that want to do this kind of stuff, but haven't gotten the groundswell or haven't gotten the grassroots.
Absolutely.
So Blair, when you were gone, I mean, we talked about going as you and Gloria agreed with you, and I'm very happy with that we go first to the T-Bid and to the Chamber and to who else? You think, Steve, to Lions?
TCDC and Lions.
DCDC. Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that we talked about, GFDA is a 501c3 nonprofit, and they do public-private partnerships. So with the T-Bid, with their Port Authority in Great Falls, with the Chamber, which is private, but Port Authority is a tool in the tool chest, but it may not be the right tool for all of what we're talking about at the moment. Long term,
Right.
we may need to strategize on what that looks like for Choteau, whether we form a Choteau specific development corporation or work with and co-op with TCDC. I don't know long term what that looks like, but we've been moving towards that path anyway with Chamber and T-Bid and the three of us partnering on different projects. So it's a natural kind of movement, I think.
You guys, is TCDC active?
So it still exists. I think if Jody's recollection was correct, Corleen is the chair currently. Active-ish, they still exist as an entity. That that's to the best of my knowledge. I haven't heard anything out of them lately, but so they still exist. The Community Foundation is another one. The Rocky Mountain Front Community Foundation is another entity that we could tap into potentially.
Well, we've used them before when we wrote
Mhm.
the grant request to Bo. We did that, and then I wrote a request, as we talked about last time, for some funding for the summer camp, and it's going to go through the Community Foundation. So they might
Sure.
be a partner and might say, yes, we can do 1,000 a year or something like that.
Yep.
So I'm
Has
happy.
anyone done stakeholder analysis for it all? 'Cause
Pardon me?
that might be- Has anyone actually done a stakeholder analysis for it? Because
That was that's a really, really good question. That's something that Jason Niski brought up. He's going to facilitate that for us community wide. That's a really, really good, valid question. And that's something as soon as he started talking about it, like, you're exactly right, Corey, that is very useful. We kind of have a field generally of who the stakeholders are and who the players are in the community. And so, but having it on paper and mapped out would be very useful for us for this purpose.
well, there may be some that you wouldn't even think of. Like, I mean, the museum. Like, we would definitely benefit from having somebody here thinking about Choteau and thinking about the area, and
Yeah.
Yep.
Take some grants off your plate.
Absolutely.
So what, do we move forward then with approaching those, I guess, 4 entities that we talked about?
Yep.
Finch-
So I think so that we can, for the sake of not having to rehash it in every meeting going forward, can we make a motion? Would it be valid to make a motion to authorize you to negotiate with, chamber, TBID, and stakeholders to make this happen?
Well,
Melody, would that be too far abroad?
Well, I'm happy and with the job description in hand, if it's okay with you guys, because we still will be the organizing
The
entity.
housing. Mhm.
Yeah. We're not asking them to partner with us to help run this. We're asking them to give
Okay.
us money so that we do this.
Okay.
And I'm happy to put a letter together, show it to you guys and send them. And I think, personally, I can talk. Steve, chamber.
Oh yeah.
TCDC, I think Jody is the treasurer still, maybe a letter is.
She is.
So we do those 4, and then we try and broaden the circle after that. So once we have some buy-in or not from them, then we broaden the circle. Is that what you're thinking, Blair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, Blair, would you like to take on TCDC and the foundation?
Yeah, just I guess just give me, or I would need, to know who those, who the entities are. But yeah, absolutely.
So there were a couple of comments in the chat. Corey asking whose employees it would be Port Authority's employee. And then Melody pointed out the original proposal was for an independent contractor rather than an employee.
And it still is independent contractor. So yes.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
So, does anybody know, is Lyle Hotchkiss still the Rocky Mountain Front Community Foundation guy? Because I know he was running it for a while, or was at least chairman.
Sally Lee is the president.
Okay.
And Corlene's directly involved with that too, right?
She's the secretary.
Okay. Yeah,
And
we've definitely got avenues on all that.
Becky Rappold, although she's no longer here, was the last president they had. I don't think it's Corleen. She's not.
No, and I think Jody would probably be the best resource to at least kind of navigate that.
So I'm happy to put a letter together, and I'll show it, I'll send it to board members. And then we will hopefully by our next meeting, because we have 2 more meetings until summer hits, see if we can get some buy-in from them. Should we leave it at 20,000 right now and maybe put something in the job description to say depending upon funding or something?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be fine.
Okay, so Steve, you made a motion, I think, kind of. Do you want to rephrase it?
Yeah, I want to. So what I'd really like is to have the motion be as broad as possible, so that well, in all sincerity, that that we don't have to rehash it every time. That
Right.
if this is set as the job description, that's fine. But if we need to, anything else that we need to authorize to make this happen, any suggestions on verbiage, Mary or Mel?
Seems to me that what you're talking about is a motion that authorizes the chairwoman of the board to go out and put together a funding package, working with your potential partners on this. And because that's what's going to drive it.
Yep.
If you can put together the
That's
funding
my motion.
and you can go forward.
Well said,
Get-
Steve.
Yeah, get all that, Tom?
The motion
Thank you,
is
Mel.
that I, with the assistance of other board members, approach the 4 other entities for funding for this position. And hopefully we can, I can report back by next time so that we know. Okay?
Yep.
So those, did you second that, Blair?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I second that.
So those in favor, say aye.
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 Oh, same sign? Okay, well, we're making progress. And I'm hopeful that we can do this and more. So shall we move on? Got to close out my chat. I was reading that. Update and branding marketing, we got the money and we just have to do a report, and that will be due next fall. And that will be kind of after we get a little more indication as to what response we see in the community. I know, Corey, you already have seen some response from the ads we put out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They've been phenomenal.
Well, I hope others see, yours was direct because you got bookings. Others, it's probably not so easy to see.
Yeah, I know I got some feedback from like the coffee shop and stuff
Okay,
regarding people stopping in, on the comments in some of the ads, people asking where to eat, that kind of thing. And, I'd point them to the different restaurants and kind of make it as such that it did my best to help kind of have a paper trail back to the ad as best as we could.
so Jeff and Steve, you guys are going to help me write the report. Okay.
Yep. It'll probably be me, for the record.
Okay. The grant for the trails, I know we're just about there.
Yep. We met last night. Finally doing the final proofing on the points. It's on the website. Hasn't been fully publicized yet, but it is up and running. It's operational and kind of getting its kind of final polishing on it.
And once we get the money, we'll put up the signs around town with the QR code. And we should be getting the big signs at the Bellevue and the Teton River Road installed within the next month. So new resident outreach until we have some more money for that, probably not much, and that should come from the Idaho money.
Mhm.
The band shell grant, I got a message and email last week from Department of Commerce. Once again, it's been postponed. They still have not announced these tourism grants, and they were supposed to be out the 1st of March.
And they're still waiting on funding, isn't that?
I think it was approval from the higher ups, from
Okay.
my understanding. And
Do we
maybe,
need to twist some arms? Is that where we're at?
no, I understood, from what I understood, it was the director needed to be comfortable with all these grant programs, and that there is looking, the person is looking through them very carefully to see, to peruse them. So hopefully we know soon. Again, the mini grant, the library already has bought their chairs and they're beautiful, and we will pay for them. They paid for it, and we'll pay them back. They're very cool chairs. And when they have kind of their grand reopening, they will be featured, which will be nice. And I'll make sure they put it on that it's from the Port Authority. And then we'll have funding for more marketing and for new resident outreach. We have not heard from the LWCF grant. I don't know when. They usually say it takes 6 weeks, so we should be hearing soon. The dog park, we visited about that last week or last month. There's still interest in that. Erin, who's been writing our grant, said she needs to get a budget, and that would be mostly for the fencing. I think at this point, there's not a land acquisition involved. It's just for fencing and the facility itself. And the city council needs to be aware and approved before we move forward with this. And this would be an application either in June or in September.
And while a decision hasn't been made, I would, as you and I discussed, I would definitely be looking at potential land acquisition too.
And she may still be, that's possible.
Yep. Yep.
And I will push Polly. Other grants efforts, I know the arts folks were interested. Leslie, is there anything that you're looking at particularly for grants? Leslie, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, no, we're still looking. We just applied for one with the Art Council, so we're waiting on that to see if that's going to happen. And then there's a couple other possibilities with the Art Council as well, evidently, but you know, we're running everything with volunteers right now, so it's just like everybody else, just like this, you know, it just takes time and guess we keep trucking along here.
Well, if we can be any help or write letters of support, you let us know.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Cool. That's great.
We're doing some readjusting right now. So once we get that, we have a meeting tomorrow and we'll do a little bit more juggling with some things, and then we should be able to get going. We've got a new board member, Sally Lee's on the board now, so we're excited about that. And yeah, that's where we are right now.
Great. Summer events. I just wanted to add, I have gotten some feedback that we were overwhelmed with birders. And I think that's somewhat from the ads from folks in town. I actually wasn't here, but the feedback I've gotten is there were a lot of birders. And I had understood that some of the businesses kind of didn't, you know, it would have been nice if there were more of activities and something to do in a welcoming atmosphere. So I think for us to capitalize in birding, hopefully we can encourage some sort of an event next year.
You know, we tried to do that. We had kind of a birding art show, and we advertised that in both the Cantha and the Fairfield paper, and put flyers out, handed them out, and we just really didn't get a lot of turnout for it.
Folks didn't know what was in town before. We've had the birding festival where the museum had a game feed, there were movies, there were tours.
Right.
And I think we need to do that again so that people can take advantage of what's here besides just the birds.
Well, and we were going to do a reception, but with COVID, we decided not to do that. And so basically it was just putting a little bit of advertising out there, and that's all there was to it.
Well, we did some digital marketing just for the birding, and from we're going to get a report from FWP, but I know Nancy Molesky, who works with them, said that this was one of the biggest numbers, the people that were out there. She said one day they count cars, and they're going to put that into a report. They had 180 cars out there.
Wow.
And that was just at one point in time. So they were coming and going and that kind of thing. So we need to figure out a way to capitalize on that a little bit more.
And I think, you know, like you say, Mary, I think the stuff that didn't happen this year and last year was largely due to the COVID restrictions, and coming out of it next year, I think we'll have the opportunity to capture it again.
Right.
And I hope the same, and that's where it may take a group, whether it's through TBID or the museum or wherever it might be, to organize that, and with the arts folks and maybe restaurant folks and others to do some cooperative marketing, and to, you know, with the movie theater and whatnot, to have events so there are things for people to do. So hopefully keep that in mind.
Mary, could I say something real quick?
Sure.
I do think I talked to a few friends of mine who who work at their local restaurants, and there were days I know the log cabin was just overwhelmed with birders, and I think it's important that we do utilize the few restaurants we have that we're overwhelmed with people. That would be a great place to put little flyers on the table or signs in the door, to encourage people.
And welcome people that we like to have you. Welcome to Choteau. Yep.
And some people, I think, got a bad feeling because a lot of those vehicles were parked right in the middle of the highway out there by freeze out and were causing a driving hazard.
Yeah.
To encourage people to utilize the parking that's out there for them to get off the highway so they're not putting themselves in danger, and they're not endangering the people who commute back and forth for work. And maybe, I wonder if there's a way we could put signs out there in those parking areas with a QR code that would maybe link people to active current events going on in town or restaurant specials or whatever, to kind of encourage them to come to town to have lunch or to check things out.
That's a really good idea. Just looking into the brief looking into it I've done is we face bureaucracy because that's FWP property and MDT right away on the edge of the road approaching state FW. So yes, we need to navigate that, and I think those are excellent suggestions. But that is a lot of our lack of work on that has just been we deal with. And Mary, if I have missed something, but I think that's, in my experience, that's where we've kind of had trouble getting any traction.
Yep. Well, and this was the first year they had a dedicated website that we actually linked on some of those digital ads we did. And if that website could then be linked also back to our website so that people see both the Choteau and that website.
Yeah.
I think, if we talk to Brent Lawner and to others, I think that we can get cooperation, those things.
I think so.
The parking is a huge issue and it always has been. I don't know the answer to that, but I think working with them to get more focus in Choteau would be a really good thing. So yeah, something to work on next year. It'd be a great thing for a coordinator to help with, wouldn't it? So events, 4th of July, Steve, I know the chamber is moving right along with the 4th.
Yep. Open bore. We're parade, brew fest, steak fry. As far as I know, there's going to be an art in the park, whether by Seroptimist or a loosely organized group of women who like to help people. Rodeo dance, all that's happening. We're planning for full steam ahead.
That's great.
We're excited.
I think the threshing bee's on as usual, isn't it, Mel? You probably know.
I haven't heard necessarily that they are on, but I know they're meeting regularly and they're talking about it. So I think it's happening. It's my impression that it's happening.
Because those are the sorts of things with the digital ad money that we're going to be getting from the University of Idaho that we can promote those things. The yoga, 4th of July, I'm not sure that needs any promoting. It kind of promotes itself. But the threshing bee, any other events that we know of? The fiddlers aren't coming, are they?
No, Fiddlers moved to another community for that event. I think Lincoln, but not Choteau anymore.
Okay, briefly with Rick Gratz, he is going to be not having his own website through U of M, but they're going to submit to us, and he has a grad student working on it, blog posts for our website. So he'll be going through our website, and there will be information on, say, history, the geology, and there will be posts there for folks to read through our website. And we might even want to utilize some of those, in other ways as well. But
Thank you.
With that, and I think that's makes Steve happy. Meat processing, Corey, I know you're on, and you were off, I think, for a minute. And if you want to also give updates in this, not just meat processing, but other program updates, like for assistance and what's available through SBA and PPP and anything like that. Corey, you still with us? Let me look and see if you are.
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
Good. So any updates on food processing or security or any other things from Sweetgrass?
Well, big thing off of meat processing is we have a really good dialogue going with the the Board of Livestock right now. We've sent in kind of what we're planning as being kind of an entry to meat processing for small or non-existent processors right now, and how to build that business and get up and running, and had some really good feedback. And so our initial first training 101 is about to be ready to go. We're just finishing up a couple of requests that the inspection service asked us to add, and then we will be able to kind of release that. And the whole purpose behind, or thought process behind this, is there are a lot of niche processors or people who have the capability of doing this processing that maybe don't understand exactly how to get to the state inspected or same as inspected for the federal program. So we're creating kind of a ramp into it, so that by the time they reach out to the state inspection service, all their I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and they'll be able to kind of just build that relationship with their inspector to getting it the rest of the way there. So we're seeing a lot of good movement as far as that goes right now. SBA right now, the shuttered venue, I think everybody knows, kind of hit a couple of bumps in the road. I did not get a chance to look today, but last I heard from SBA, they were hoping to get the portal back up by the end of the week this week, so that people would be able to start submitting applications. The restaurant fund that is out there has been, last I looked, was the beginning of May. And again, I did not get a chance to look today or yesterday, so I'll have to get updated on that. But that was the last I'd heard. So some really good things coming down the pipelines. I know they've hit a couple of bumps in the road so far, but those are being corrected. So they'll be ready to be up and rolling to kind of get those monies out there and get these places and venues back open.
Great, thank you. Anything else from Sweetgrass?
Well, we are doing our annual meeting coming up, and I was speaking to Sarah right before this call, actually. She said to make sure to let you know that everybody on the Port Authority is, of course, invited. So if anybody would like to go, please just reach out and I'll make sure all the information is sent to you. It's next week on the 28th. And other than that, I think we've been pushing forward with a lot of different things. So we know our brownfields program is working out really well right now. We've got a couple of grants out there to be able to create more of a revolving loan fund for small businesses. So we're looking forward to getting the results from that back from USDA. And other than that, we're just going to keep developing. So if there's anything we can do for you, please reach out to me.
Okay, thank you. The next one, I just wanted to note that I was approached by the Farmers Union, and they're having a community, cultivating community gathering in Choteau on May 19th. Lunch will be served at 11:30, and they're going to be talking about meats processing around the state, and including they're looking at a co-op slaughter unit, and be an update from MSU Northern about their meat processing program. And there will be local panels to discuss current community needs and projects, and they'd like to have someone from the Port Authority participate in a panel. Steve or Blair, are you interested? It's Wednesday, May 19th, probably around 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
I would defer to you or Blair on that I am not an egg guy or a meat guy. So you two are in the cattle industry. I'm all hat.
Blair, why don't you do it?
Well, okay. I'm a little bit hesitant booking that far out.
Okay,
But I mean, I will if I can, for sure.
I'll be your second if you can't do it, but I think you'd be good. So why don't you?
Okay.
And again, that's May 19th. I'll send you the information. I'll forward you the email that I got from them. Okay.
Okay. Yes. And Mary, and okay. And how is that set up again?
It's going to be a community meeting. It's at the Stage Stop by Farmers Union, and they're going to be talking about the American Rescue Plan and how to benefit mostly agriculture, meat processing, and the Northern Meat Processing Program. And then they want to have local people talk about community needs and projects. So
Okay.
your
Okay.
community needs and projects.
Okay.
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 Cool. Childcare, Blair. Summer camp.
I have, well, not much. There's a tentative meeting coming up with Chad and you and Becky, right?
Yep, tomorrow.
That's at At 11. So I have, other than that, Mary, I haven't heard anything. Well, we touched base with Eve.
Yep.
We got the ad stuff set up. I'm trying to think of everything that's happened since last meeting.
Revision went out, it sounds like. I saw that on Facebook this evening.
The which, Steve?
A revision of kind of the program, the overhaul of a program a little bit went out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did not know that. Other than the meeting I had with Eve and touching base a little bit with the ad and stuff. Yeah, that's all I have.
Well, I know that, and Steve, thank you, because we did agree last time that we would sort of be the, not the accountant, but the financial folks for this. And I know, Tom, you've talked to Eve, you're setting up separate accounts for the money that they have for contributions, which they're doing well. And also I talked about last time, and I did write Bow Brothers a letter asking them for $2,000 to support the camp. And I know that they are also working with OAFS, Opportunities for All, and Opportunities for All will give scholarships to this. And the idea is to provide also free lunches. And I think from the fundraising that they have now, they'll be able to supply the lunches, because I think it was around $1,200 to do the lunches. So they're getting the money and support they need, and I think there will be more coming in. Again, it's through the school, and hopefully they continue to get the funding they need, and they have staff set up, and high school kids are going to be helping them. Again, it's, I think, eight weeks from 9 until 1, I think, is when the children will be there. And yeah.
Mary, it's Gloria.
Yes.
I didn't know if you all had heard this. She has told me I can share it, but that Heather McCartney, who's been on some of these calls that you all know, I
Yep.
believe, with Family Connections, she is ending her position.
Yep.
And she'll be in Choteau. What a great resource for you all.
She is part of the committee. She's been working with we have kind of two groups, the summer camp group, although some of the people are the same, and then those are looking for longer term solutions. And I think Heather's been working with both groups. So yeah, I know I've seen.
She'll be she'll have more time possibly.
Huge asset, great asset, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, because she did send out the email to us too as well.
Sure.
Thanks. New business, Steve, housing, affordable housing, Steve.
So the kind of to put a point on the conversations that I've been having, we've been looking at opportunities to fully utilize the properties in the community. There's a handful that are vacant or otherwise uninhabitable, and just looking at ways at how we can bring those properties back into usability and back into in some cases the tax roll. And one of the avenues to pursue that, I've looked at kind of co-ops. That's a little bulky for what we need, but one of the ones that I've been looking into through the GFDA Montana. Someone help me out with the acronym. It's the MEOW, the MEOW, the Montana Economic Workshop, Entrepreneurs Outreach Workshop, whatever it is that GFDA hosts. Met one of the guys that I've networked with is involved with the Center for Community Ownership, and essentially it is a cooperative in spirit, but with more of a C corp structure than the legal the legal co-op structure that exists that MCDC promotes. It's a little bit more flexible. It allows for a little bit easier fundraising, but it might be, especially with the amount of money that you're talking about, buying up properties or renovating properties, tearing down old, uninhabitable properties, and putting something new on it at that level. it seems to me to be a little bit more suited to bigger investment to get more funding involved. When I say that it's a co-op in spirit, or kind of parallel to a co-op, you can structure it through the C Corp bylaws, or a B Corp for that matter, bylaws, so that each individual has one vote as an investor, or you can do it by investment size. Either, kind of just depends on how the group organizing decides to structure it. You can also do it in such a way like a co-op, where if it doesn't meet its funding, the pre-decided funding amount, if you set it for 250,000, you only raise 200,000, nothing happens. No one's out any money. Some of the drawbacks that I kind of heard about is that there is kind of a sizable upfront cost to it. The Center for Community Outreach has partnered with some accountants and some attorneys to provide legal services and making sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And they ask for kind of about $15,000 upfront, is what it looks like. So that's a pretty big barrier to entry, especially for our community. But if we have folks in the community who are interested in helping, especially in sort of I don't want to say a nonprofit way, but in a way that they're looking to invest in the community for the sake of investing in the community, not for the sake of turning a buck. A B Corp partnering with this structure could be really beneficial to moving forward on these types of projects. We know that there's a shortage of real estate inventory in the community. This might be a good way to get an apartment structure rebuilt or built new in the community. So yeah, that's just kind of the research that I've done so far, the conversations that I've had on that. I don't have a ton of information on the neighborhood stabilization program. I'm just kind of drawing a blank on it at the moment.
Well, that's the one I talked to Rob about.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'll let you. Yeah,
When
I'll
Steve
defer to you on
wants
that.
to add housing, and this is something I know not just Steve, but the city council's interested in. I talked to Rob Cook because they have done quite a bit with.
And they is Ponderay County Conrad
Yep,
Port Authority.
the Port Authority, and Rob Cook is the director of that. And they utilized, starting probably about 10 years ago, and this is through the state. And I have not looked into what funding is available now, but I think all of these things take research and effort in figuring out what works here. But they used neighborhood stabilization, and they then were able to go in and renovate homes, working with the homeowners sometimes. They had to meet HUD standards, so they have to bring them up to that standard. And then they found the biggest problem they have is that then even those low income housing and people to buy it, and this is kind of what they do in Great Falls also, they have to have a down payment. So the Port Authority utilized a revolving loan fund they had to help people with their down payments. So when people acquired these homes, and this was home ownership, this was not rental property, they took advantage of the stabilization program. And then they also took advantage of the revolving loan fund that they had. And I think he said they did 8 or 10 properties within a number of years, and that most of it's been paid back because the revolving loan fund that they did for the down payment was also part of the financing that the prospective buyers were involved with. So that's another program for housing. And crowdsourcing is
So that's more on the Center for Community Ownership side of it. But you partner that type of corporate structure, that type of entity, with partnership through Port Authority, partnership through the city on the neighborhood stabilization program, and we potentially get access to do some good work to rehabilitate some properties that aren't on the tax rolls or aren't inhabitable right now, and get it all back together.
Well, I know, Blair, you've been involved with housing, and as you've talked about it, it's a hard one.
Yeah, it is. The problem always comes back to, the cost. Well, prior to the last 3 or 4 years,
Yep.
The cost of materials really wasn't as much of a factor as it is now. Believe it or not, labor is actually fairly affordable compared to the increases that we've had in materials. And now materials have gone crazy, and the cost of acquiring properties. The problem that you run into is that people that still have ownership of debilitated properties want a lot of money for them, and it makes it hard to get acquisition with enough room in there to go in and, if it's a tear, like Steve talked about, a tear down, that's expensive. And then and then of course to put a new building on that lot where you've just torn one down now with the cost of materials. So yeah, I think these programs have worked in the past in places, but I would, without any expertise in it right now, I would venture to guess that in the environment we're in right now, money does not get you very far.
No, and true enough. And I think this, right now we're in a flood and we need to prepare for famine. Maybe not famine, but we need to start looking at this so that when, God willing, the price of materials finally comes down and all that, things kind of equalize and prices of real estate comes down again, we can start looking at it instead of waiting till there's another, until the next boom happens, or that we can start putting this stuff into place, this infrastructure into place, and just starting to make it work. No, but I think you're spot on with what the issues are. I mean, I mean, $65-$70 a sheet for plywood is just, you can't do anything with that.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, Steve, there's enough entrepreneurs around that there's enough people around that are good with numbers to know if it pencils out, this is all long-term, investments, right? And if it pencils out, there's people that are willing to do it, but frankly, in the environment we're in right now, it's really hard to pencil stuff out. So the only way I see it realistically is if there is some sort of a subsidy or some sort of assistance, I think there would be people that are willing to put in the time and money for this kind of thing. Even 20 years ago in Lewistown, this was a topic, is, you reach a point where these houses are almost worthless for, people to inhabit, but yet you couldn't come up with the funding to get rid of them. Because even to tear down a house at that time wasn't cheap. So I really feel there's people that will invest money, but we've talked about apartments before. You have to really, to make it fly, you have to do a minimum of a fourplex, to make it cost effective, where otherwise you're going to have to charge so much for rent that you're certainly not a low income housing.
Well, and as we know, for the folks that lived at the Gunther, there are 9-10 units that now are no longer available.
13.
Yes.
13. And that's, I mean,
It
that's
hurts.
a travesty in the community. It really, really is.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm kind of thinking, as we did with childcare, we start, a dialogue, whether it's, a group or, a task force or whatever. And maybe this fall, because I think by this fall, we'll have an idea of what kind of federal and state money might be available. I think the state's working through what they got from the Rescue Act and what we may or may not get from an infrastructure bill. And then the state does have funding. The Neighborhood Stabilization Program is right through the Department of Commerce. You can see it in the website. I would suggest maybe this fall that I don't even have a community meeting to talk about housing. And we have the Center for Community, Steve, the Center for Community Ownership.
Andrew would love to come and talk to us.
We get someone from Department of Commerce. We get the folks in Great Falls that have, what do they call that? NeighborWorks?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Great Falls. And I think the community knows this is a problem. This is not anything new. So maybe this fall, once programs are kind of ironed out, and I think there'll still be money available, we get some folks here. And then if there's interest, we put together a group of people that would be interested, because the Port Authority can act again as a support group here. And if their funding applications need to be done, we can do that kind of thing with the help of the city, whether it's CDBG or whatever it might be, or federal grants. But we need to know from the community what they want to do.
Right. I think personally, if CAPA is really no more than a glorified bullhorn to get the information and get it out there, I really think there will be no lack of interest for people. I mean, housing and real estate is just, it's been on the map for a long time as, you know, potential place for people to invest their time and their money. So I think if we get information and pass that along to, you know, whether it's a meeting or whatever ways we can, I think there's people that will take advantage of that information. We just have to relay it. I really think that'll be probably our best, you know, position, is just to kind of relay that information.
Do you think waiting till fall? I think right now it would be, I mean, some of the programs are in a state of flux. We don't know what funding's available.
Yeah, it's probably premature now. But once, because, you know, the first question they're going to ask, Mary, is, you know, against the guys that are going to pencil stuff out, they're going to say, how does this work? How is this going to, you know, make sense?
Mhm.
And that's how we get the folks here who know a whole lot more than we do. We're just,
Right. Yes.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and you know, who knows, you know, this time, well, maybe, yeah, about this time next year, it might very well be a cold February again, and there might be a few more houses back on the market than there were, you know, folks moving in the last 6-8 months. So,
but we know that low income is something that there's
Yeah.
a huge need for. Who knows what the woman who owns Gunther's going to do? Would she want to, as a partnership, rebuild? Who knows?
mhm.
Oof, yeah.
Actually, it's a family owned
Yeah.
LLC with her brother James, I think, being the primary
okay,
operator
so
of
it's
that. I
not-
don't know that Susan will have much of a say in that. And when I spoke with James today, it didn't sound encouraging that it might be rebuilt, but he was
Right.
still working on a lot. His big concern was the cost of construction at this time.
Yeah.
But again, there is funding available and partnerships that are available, and maybe even he would be interested in something like this at
I
some.
have his contact information. If you want it, I can send it to you.
Sure.
Yeah, Mary, I think before we really can approach anybody, we really, because those are going to be the very questions they're going to ask right out of the gate, is how is this, you know, how is this feasible? You know,
And
how does this
know.
work?
We know there are sources out there, but we don't know. And that's where I'm
Right.
getting some experts here to talk to people who might be interested, or to be able to put them in touch with people like James, would be our role.
Right. Yep. I agree.
And that we can do now. I mean, we could talk to him about the neighborhood stabilization program. We could talk to him about CDBG funding. I mean, there is already funding available out there that if he's really interested, he could utilize in a cost share basis. So,
Yeah.
do you want to try and do it this fall? I mean, I don't know if we need a formal
I
motion.
think we can
Yeah,
formalize some plans, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know that we need
I
a
just-
motion.
I think as information comes to light, Mary, I mean, I think when we're in a position to answer those anticipated questions, absolutely, we get it out there as soon as possible. But until we have enough information to be relevant, I think we ought to just wait until we, you know.
Yeah, we don't have it now. I
Right.
think a community meeting, and then an opportunity for, you know, whether it's, again, a small group of folks who say, yes, we want to do this. We want to move forward with, because that's what
Right.
Neighbor Works in Great Falls is, a 501c3. You know,
Mhm.
they're their own entity, and they've taken advantage of all the state, federal, local programs, and that they possibly can. So, well, I'll keep it on the agenda as we add things, and then let's maybe this fall try and do a community discussion or a meeting.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Anything else from anyone on that one?
And I apologize. I have to jump off to go head to scouts. So I do apologize for that.
Steve,
What's that?
insurance? You said the city wants us to do our own insurance.
Oh, yeah, that was something that Jody mentioned. You know, since we are a separate entity, we're not a true subcommittee of the council. We're kind of a separate entity under legal structure. That it's probably time for us to look at getting our own liability insurance, or you know, whatever form of. There are people who are more versed in insurance than I am, and what we would exactly need, if it's E&O or some other type of liability shield insurance. There was a request that we start looking at that and figuring out how much it's going to cost this year, and get off the cities for a while.
I'll put it on this for next time, Steve. If you can get a little more information, that Chris would probably know as well.
Yep.
That we talked about again. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
As a matter of fact, let's ask him to join us for the next meeting if possible. He'll be able to fill us in on what we need,
Perfect.
or maybe someone from MMIA.
Okay. Wonderful.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone. I have to jump off. I'll make you host, Tom, if that's okay.
No problem.
Thank you. And we have yet community or the public comment. I know we've kind of had rolling comments. Anyone like to add anything?
I'd like to remind and invite you all to come to the Peer Learning Network Zoom call tomorrow morning at 9:30. We're going to be talking about something that some of you on this call could help the rest of us with, and that is the branding process for your communities. So you are welcome to join us, Mita and the Peer Learning Network at 9:30 tomorrow. Just maybe pop in the chat if you would like me to send you an invite.
It's on my calendar, Gloria. And I
Great.
have, you sent me the Zoom link, so I will be there.
Great, thank you. And also Lori will most likely be on the call and we'll ask her about your grant too.
Okay, great. No, I'll be on it. So thank you.
Yeah, Mary, this is Leslie. I wanted to just let everyone know that we still have our Patron of the Arts program that we started this fall, and it's still going. We've done pretty well with it. It gives us some money to help match some grants if we can find some to do that. We're just slowly opening up the classroom studio now. So we will be doing a little bit of open studio and starting some classes. So we're looking forward to that. And then hopefully that'll give people will actually see what we're doing down there besides just the gallery.
Great. Anyone else? For the good of the order? Okay, thank you all for joining us. Good conversation. So motion to adjourn. I bet Blair, you can do that.
Sure, so moved.
Second. And the meeting is now officially adjourned. We meet on the 27th, so we'll meet May 27th and June. I don't know the dates. We have 2 more meetings. Then we won't meet during the summer. And we're having a community roundtable on May 26th. And I'll probably with them bring up the housing issue, because it seems like with the childcare, we can get the conversations going and then we kind of share the information and see who's interested. So.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you all again.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you tomorrow, Mary.
Okay, bye.
Bye.